Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are doing a big old pregnancy update. I really haven't shared too much about what's been going on in this pregnancy just because I felt like there was like a lot of uncertainty and it has been an absolute whirlwind. My previous two pregnancies were smooth sailing. They were incredible. I didn't really have any hiccups or anything that went on in the pregnancies, which I am so grateful for because even experiencing just what I have in this pregnancy, it has been a roller coaster, both emotionally and physically, and I have kind of just kept a little bit more to myself this time, and I wanted to share kind of what's been going on behind the scenes and where I'm currently at right now as I am starting my third trimester. I also posted a Q&A, so you guys asked some really great questions about gender and names and a whole bunch of fun things, so I'll be answering those questions as well. So let's get ready together. I have my gestational diabetes test today, the one where you gotta drink the nasty drink. It's honestly not the worst drink in the world, but it's like flat pop. It's really not that enjoyable. I have that test today and I woke up feeling a little bit nauseous. So I am just hoping that I can keep that drink down for my appointment because the last two times I've done it, it has definitely made me a little bit nauseous. You can't have anything to eat or drink for 3 hours before your appointment, which already makes me feel nauseous. Like I need to be snacking like every hour and a half, 2 hours maximum. So I'm honestly just hoping that I can just keep this drink down and just get through with this appointment. This is the foundation I'm using. I love it because it is not like super full coverage. It's pretty light, but it still kind of gives me a little bit of something. So I was just out of my first trimester. I was 14 weeks when I did the early blood test. So we are so excited that we are having another boy. It was honestly like 50-50. We were both so excited either way. We just really wanted to know, and Henrik really wanted a brother because obviously he already has a sister. So we were extra excited for him that he is gonna have a little baby brother as well. It was so fun finding out like just with our family. It was really just like cute and intimate. With it being my third baby, I started popping quite early. So I was planning on sharing the news of us having a baby and sharing the gender earlier on. But within that same week of us doing the blood test, I ended up in emergency. I was at my parents' house and I went to the washroom and there was like a huge gush of blood. It was like my period, but even heavier than that. And I was so concerned, so I called 811, which is like our helpline for like health here, and I just asked them like what to do because of course in that moment I was immediately like, I think I'm miscarrying, and we always assume the worst. So I called 811 and they suggested that I get into emergency like as soon as I could. So he immediately left his golf game and we went to the hospital together while my parents watched the kiddos. I kept bleeding for another, it was probably about 3 hours, and it was quite heavy. Like it was a full-on period, if not more than that. Like I don't usually bleed even that much during my period, so it was quite scary. I was also experiencing really severe cramping, which again, not a normal pregnancy symptom for me. Like sometimes I'll have like a little bit of cramping, but nothing where I like feel like it really is like painful and like I need to like take a Tylenol or something. Like these period cramps were like not normal ones. So of course, again, it led me to think the absolute worst. When we showed up to emergency, it was so busy. There was literally like no chairs available. And I was like, oh my gosh, we are going to be here for a while. And we ended up waiting 6 hours at Emerge that day before we were able to see a doctor. And the first thing that we did as soon as we got in to see the doctor was he pulled out like their ultrasound machine, which is just like a smaller machine compared to the bigger ones that they use when I go for my like routine appointments. And he was just looking for the heartbeat, and immediately he was able to find the heartbeat, which I was shocked, honestly, because I had sat in emergency thinking the worst of things. I was Googling, and literally all of the signs, everything that I was feeling, everything I was Googling was leading me to believe that things were not good and that something was wrong. He explained to us that I was experiencing a subchorionic bleed, or hemorrhage is what they call it, and he couldn't really see the bleed on the ultrasound just because their equipment isn't like quite as good to pick up on that. So he scheduled me for a routine ultrasound the following morning. So we went home. It was like 11 when we got home, and then we had an appointment first thing in the morning for a more thorough ultrasound. That next morning I went to the hospital and it was obviously confirmed that I had the subchorionic hemorrhage, and it was actually quite large. So they were very concerned that I was going to potentially continue to bleed and that it was going to get worse, which could lead to either a miscarriage or a premature delivery. So either cases at that point was really, really scary. It honestly led me to like so much uncertainty where I decided that I didn't even want to like share any of the news about me being pregnant. I just kind of wanted to lay low, digest things myself, like just like I was quite sad for a while and I just kind of like wanted to like be alone. So as soon as that bleed happened, they put some restrictions in place: no working out, no heavy lifting, anything over like 5 to 10 pounds, and ideally just avoiding lifting at all was what they wanted me to do. They were quite worried because it was a larger bleed than they usually see. I didn't realize, but apparently like subchorionic bleeds or hemorrhages are actually quite common during pregnancy, but usually they are a little bit smaller and usually they clear up within like a month's time. And mine was like quite large. My OB was really concerned. So they were very serious on like having me rest and just make sure that I was taking it as easy as possible, which was one of the most difficult things because I have 2 kids at home and Henrik is almost 4, so he definitely understands when I explain to him like why I can't pick him up. But Oakland, she's only a year and a half. She loves to be carried. She wants to always be at our height, see what's going on. And with toddlers, you're constantly just pulling them away from things. And so it was definitely a challenge not lifting up the kids and just not even being able to like do things like go to Costco and do big hauls because things were just too heavy for me to carry. So after that, they were monitoring me quite closely. So they were sending me for like weekly or bi-weekly ultrasounds just to see how the bleed was changing. Usually your body like passes it or it just dissolves, and my bleed kept staying the same size from ultrasound to ultrasound, which could have been worse because obviously there was a possibility that it could have gotten bigger. They could see on my ultrasounds that it didn't look like any more blood was flowing into the bleed, so it was basically just there. But every ultrasound I was so hopeful that the bleed would get smaller and that I'd be able to get back to like regular life of lifting the kids and being able to just like move my body again, because that's something that I just like really genuinely enjoy and loved doing in my previous 2 pregnancies. During that time though, I just feel like there was like so much uncertainty. Like I was so nervous that I was gonna bleed again and that things were gonna go south or something was gonna go wrong. So we didn't end up doing our pregnancy announcement photos until I was about like 18 weeks, and then we ended up sharing the news shortly after that, which was so exciting to share because by that point I was getting big and it was getting really, really hard to like hide on social media, which I didn't want to hide it, but I also just like didn't really feel comfortable sharing yet because I was honestly just so scared that something was gonna go wrong. At 18 weeks, I had my routine ultrasound and they couldn't see a spot like at the top of the spine, at the C-spine, just due to the baby's position. They also couldn't see a spot in the baby's brain. So they sent me back for another ultrasound. On the second ultrasound that they sent me for, they could see the spine, everything looked good there, but they still couldn't see a spot in the baby's brain. And my doctor said that there is a potential that it could be just due to the position of the baby, but there's also a possibility that that spot in the brain just isn't developed yet. So my doctor sent me to a hospital in the city that has the best ultrasound equipment, techs, and radiologists there so that they could try to get a better look at the baby's just anatomy and brain overall. So that ended up being a longer ultrasound. It was probably about an hour and a half, maybe like almost 2 hours that they were scanning me for, but turns out everything looks good with the baby. The baby is healthy. They were able to like see that spot in the brain. I was so relieved that everything looks good with the little man because I was worried, and they were also able to see the bleed a little bit better and do some more like pictures and measurements of that. And they reassured me that everything was looking okay with the bleed and that there was still no blood flowing into it. So they, at that point, changed my ultrasound schedule to be every month, which was really exciting because I knew that it definitely wasn't as serious and I didn't need to worry as much if I wasn't going for as frequent appointments. So that was really, really exciting news to receive. But of course, I still had all of these restrictions in place where I wasn't able to do a lot of things, which I was okay with. I was just so happy that the baby looked good and healthy. I had 2 ultrasounds after that where the bleed remained the same size, and then finally on my 3rd ultrasound last week, I went into it thinking things are gonna look the same, the bleed's gonna be the same size, and I was just kind of like expecting it to be like that, and they actually weren't able to see or find the bleed at all, which is insane that my body had either like passed it or dissolved it in a month's time, because it had not changed in size in the slightest since I was 14 weeks and I am 28 weeks now. So I haven't had my appointment with my OB yet since having that ultrasound. However, at the clinic, I got my ultrasound done at. You get to talk to the radiologist after your appointment, and she reassured me of all the good news. So that was really, really exciting. I am so weak after not lifting anything for so long. Like, I've literally never been this weak. It's been almost like 3.5 months of not doing anything, really laying low and resting. So I just know that my core is not very strong, my body's not very strong, so I'm really easing back into it. So I am okay with it. I am just so freaking happy to have good news and to just know that things are kind of like progressing as they should be. Few like 2nd trimester pregnancy symptoms that I have been experiencing is nausea. I would say that I have been a little bit more nauseous in this 2nd trimester than I was in my previous 2 pregnancies. Like, I found that in my last pregnancies, when my nausea left, it kind of like left for good. But this time it's like I kind of have like random days here and there where I just feel nauseous. And as I mentioned, if I don't eat, that is like a surefire sign that I will feel nauseous. So I always try to stay on top of my food to help it as much as possible. But some days, like today, I just wake up and I don't feel amazing, and we just roll with it. My energy is definitely something that just like has not come back in this pregnancy, and I don't know if it's because of the fact that I have 2 kids at home and that sometimes like they're up in the middle of the night, or that just this pregnancy is different, but I feel way more tired. Another symptom I find if I don't eat frequent enough is I get lightheaded. Like, if I'm in a store and I'm standing for a long period of time, I start to feel quite faintish. So again, another reason why I need to make sure that I always have food in me. I literally have a snack in me at all times. As I'm getting bigger, my back pain has been increasing. If I'm on my feet too much during the day, I really feel it in my lower back come the end of the day. So I've been going for monthly massages. I should pick up with chiro again, but I don't always know if chiro makes that big of a difference or not, which is why like I really love the massages, so I don't know, I feel like it's worth me trying chiro again. I also feel it quite a bit in my feet too. If I'm on my feet a lot, they really start to ache, and I think it's just because of all of the relaxin that my body's producing. A spritz of my fave, Charlotte Tilbury. This is a brand new bottle. I should give it a few spritz first. This stuff is literally like glue. It's so good. But overall though, I've just been a lot more uncomfortable. Like, as my belly is growing, I'm finding it harder to roll around in bed, to get off the ground. I'm not as strong as I was in previous pregnancies, so I'm just really feeling uncomfortable these days. I don't usually put on lip liner day to day, but this NYX nude lip liner is like one of my faves from the drugstore. I love how just like neutral it is. But I asked on Instagram what pregnancy or postpartum questions you had for me, so let's get into the Q&A portion. Okay, first question is top baby names, which I think I want to do a whole video on baby names that we love and we won't be using. We kind of have one name that is lingering that we really do love, but it's not certain yet. So as soon as we nail down a name, I will definitely share. Regardless, I do want to share girl names that we love, because before we knew the gender, we were brainstorming both girl names and boy names, and I honestly just find girl names way easier than boy names. I don't know about you. So when is my official due date? So my official due date is March 22nd. However, Henrik was 5 days late and Oaks was 10 days early. So I kind of have a feeling that I'll be early again this time, but obviously I have no clue. Next question is, was it planned? So Before we started having kids, we both wanted 3 kids. Chris comes from a family of 4, and there's so much love in that family. They're all so close. I absolutely like love and adore their family dynamic. I come from a family of 2. I just have an older brother, and so I didn't know if I, could envision a family of 3, but the more that I like spent time around Chris's family and saw their family, I was like, I love the idea of having 3 kids. Once we had 2 kids though, we realized how busy life was with 2 kids, so we were kind of on the fence on if we wanted to have a 3rd, but I was not on birth control. We were not being cautious by any means, and so we were totally open to just life kind of making God, the universe, making that decision for us. And we are so excited to be growing our family and to have that like 3rd baby. Like, I feel like it's really going to just complete our family. Food aversions while pregnant. Were you able to eat meat 13 weeks and I still hate it? So I still have a lot of food aversions, which is crazy that at this point in my pregnancy I'm still experiencing it. Some days I like can't stomach the thought of like steak or chicken breast. I'd say those are like my big ones. Before I had a hard time with like lots of different vegetables and many different protein sources, but now it's just like the thought of just like eating just like a cooked chicken breast. Like I can't do it. So I do definitely still have some food aversions. However, as I've kind of moved along in my pregnancy, they've gotten so much better. Hopefully in the next few weeks, I'll be able to kind of like get back to my regular eating, because it was very challenging for a little while there with all of the aversions that I did have to like have family meals together. Are you nervous about loose skin or marks this time around? So I definitely have loose skin. Like my body has stretched and changed so much after my last 2 pregnancies. I did notice that like I just had kind of like more skin around my midsection. It really didn't bother me though, because I was like, what a beautiful thing to be able to bring babies into this world. If that's kind of the only thing that I'm experiencing, and some like minor stretch marks on like my lower like kind of like glute areas where I notice it the most, I was like, it's such a beautiful thing that it literally does not bother me at all. I have found that for stretch marks, the kind of concoction that I love is the bio oil, as well as like a really good lotion. I use the CeraVe lotion. I really like that one because it's a little bit more sticky and tacky. I don't usually love those kinds of lotions all over my body because I don't like crawling into bed or putting clothes on and still feeling sticky. However, I want my stomach to always feel like good and lotioned up, so I love that combo together. I'll either put the bio oil on first and then do a coat of the CeraVe lotion after, or I'll mix the 2 together depending on how I'm feeling. How do you stay motivated to work out while pregnant? I'm always so tired. So I definitely feel this, and although I haven't been working out recently, I did work out earlier on in this pregnancy, as well as my last 2 pregnancies. I worked out all the way, and I really say listen to your body. During my first trimester, I give myself so much grace. If I don't work out at all that week, I'm okay with it. If I squeeze in 1 to 2 workouts, I'm just happy that I'm able to move my body, especially if you're really like nauseous and you don't feel good. Just give your body grace. As you kind of move through pregnancy, you feel a little bit better, maybe not as nauseous, and you have a little bit more energy. You might want to start to work out a little bit more. I found it really helpful to figure out what time of day I felt best. So for me, that was kind of like late morning, early afternoon is where I had the most energy, where I felt the least nauseous throughout the day. So that would always be the time of day where I would like schedule in my workouts if I was able to, with like childcare and just like my work schedule and stuff like that too. My workouts look a lot different when I'm pregnant versus when I'm not. When I'm pregnant, I'm just so happy to be able to move my body in any capacity, even if that's showing up for like a 15-minute workout or a 30-minute workout or walking on the treadmill for 20 minutes. My mentality is always that like just moving my body and doing something is better than nothing. So I really give myself a lot of grace through my entire pregnancy, and I'm always looking to make modifications depending on how I'm feeling. Some days I feel good and strong and I can kind of like lift my regular amount of weight that I usually lift, where other days I like want to lift half that amount, and I really just like lean into that and listen to my body, and it makes my workouts more enjoyable overall. Because if I was pushing myself trying to go 100% or 110, which I don't even recommend doing while being pregnant, it would just be so miserable. Like I would dread and hate every single workout. So listen to your body. If there is an activity or a kind of style of workout that you want to add in that sounds fun to you, maybe doing some yoga or Pilates or something like that, like switch it up, add things in, just make it fun in whatever way that you can and make modifications as needed. I'm also so excited because we're going to be coming out with a pregnancy and a postpartum workout program inside Lift with Liv, and that's just something that I've wanted to do for so long. I'm working on my pre and postnatal certification right now, so I just can't wait to have that release. I'm hoping to have it out in the really near future, but in the meantime, you can jump into our app and use the workouts. I use them pregnant and they're really, really great. You can just modify them as needed. Do you lower weights during pregnancy? So yes, for a lot of exercises I do. I really listen to my body. When you're working out and you're pregnant, the main thing that you want to focus on is just managing the pressure inside your core, because that is where your pelvic floor is. Of course, as you grow and your belly's getting bigger, your abdomen is starting to separate to make room for the baby. So you always want to make sure that you're able to manage that pressure. So if you're ever experiencing pain, you're experiencing coning where you notice a little bit of like a bump in between your like abdomen muscles, or you're experiencing pelvic floor pain, you're like peeing a little bit while you're working out, all of these are signs that you probably should take it a little bit easier by either lowering the weights that you're using or making a modification to the exercise to make it a little bit easier. So you always want to listen to your body. If something ever feels uncomfortable, either stop doing that exercise or look for a modification. But of course, everyone's body is different. So if you're ever unsure of like what's best for you and your body, always, always, always consult your doctor. What is your birth plan? So my plan is to go with the flow and to listen to my body. I'm hoping to deliver naturally for sure. My 2 previous births were natural. I did have an epidural get an epidural with both previous babies. With Henrik's, I didn't really feel it. I think it was due to placement. But with Oakland, I did. And this time around, I'm open to doing it naturally, unmedicated, if I can. If I can't, I am also very open to an epidural. I have heard that the more babies you deliver, the easier it gets. So if it's a pretty smooth labor and I feel good about doing it unmedicated, I will. However, if it gets to that point where I just feel like I need something and I want the epidural, I'm also like not opposed to it all. So we're going with the flow. There are lots of questions on working out while pregnant, so I think I'm gonna make a whole dedicated video to that. Let me know if you would be interested in seeing it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It feels so good to just share all of just what life has been like the last few months. It's had lots of ups and lots of downs, but I'm so glad that things are just looking better overall. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.